Well, we're getting ready to start another week, and if you're not fired up about Mondays, you're probably in the wrong job. So I thought about that today or over the weekend. Um, I wasn't always fired up about Mondays. And listen, work is work, and some Mondays I am still not so fired up about. But overall, I'm excited to go to work. Weekends are great. We work a lot on the weekends too, just to catch up and make sure that we can stay on top of things. Plus, the real estate side, a lot of folks are looking and buying and want to see properties over the weekend. So we've just become accustomed over the years. We just go 7 days a week. We try to be there for when other folks' schedules allow. Says, if we're off on the weekends, you're going to lose. You're going to lose sales, you're going to lose contacts. And when folks are trying to get in touch with you, you need to answer your phone and get out there and talk to them, work with them. That's when they have time to do things, especially in the real estate side. The construction side, not so much. Most of that, now we do meet with folks on weekends, but most of that can be done during the week, afternoons, things like that. So the weekends are not quite as hectic on the construction side. And then we just catch up on a lot of office work. Sometimes it's quiet, so we catch up on the office stuff. But another week, it's Monday. We're fired up, and Monday is the beginning of the week. Everybody else is back to work, so you can get questions answered, get stuff going. And our goal, kind of, or my goal, is to see what I can check off the list. Because in business, if you guys that are out there in business, you know that it's not every week that you get to check all the boxes that you tried to or you wanted to check. They just you triage it. You get the most important things. The reality of it is, especially a holiday weekend or a holiday week like last Monday, Memorial Day, folks are off for 3, 4 days the week before, the week after. So it's just, you constantly have to rearrange schedules and adapt to that. And that's one of the things when I went out on my own that was really tough to kind of uh, get used to with scheduling. 20 some years later, you it becomes part of your life. So you adapt, and like I said, you take care of the most important things, and then you put the others not on the back burner, but you put them back in the list and let them come back around, and just keep addressing them, and you'll get them checked off, and that's a good day. So we every week it's like, hey, what can we get checked off for the week? So we're fired up and ready to go. I'm just going to do a quick introduction. This video is just me. Had some time to do some tractor work, some bush hogging over on at our world headquarters, and just trying to get some big field that we had mulched over there last year, and it was coming up with a bunch of just scrub brush and trees, grass, things like that. It's pretty rough. It was an area that's it was left rough when years ago. So what we're trying to do, we came in, mulched it, and then we're going to bush hog it a couple of times. Hopefully, a little later in the summer, things dry out. We've had a bunch of rain here in central Alabama. So when things dry out, we're going to come in and disc it or take the skid steer in and smooth out some of the areas that are real bad. Then we'll disc over it and get something good planted back in there. I don't know whether we'll just put some fescue or whatever, but we're going to get it all smoothed out where it's a little more enjoyable to bush hog. Right now it's rough. You're going to see that. So what it is, I'm just on the tractor, and one of the things when I'm on the tractor is, it's a great time to just kind of relax and get your thoughts together. And so I thought, well, it's a good time to do a little video, and it's me just rambling about stuff that I've kind of figured out over the years. Um, you know, Business and taxes and savings. The things that have worked for us, the mistakes that we've made, and so it's just a chance for me to pass on this information. Hey, it's my 2 cents. Whatever, you can listen to it, you can trust it, you can believe it, you can make up your own mind. But it's just a chance to kind of share some of the things that we've experienced. So hey, in this video, I see everybody now that is being sponsored. Hey, we sponsor ourselves, so I'll take a minute. This is x3lifestyle.com. If you're new, we've got a couple of other videos out. We're still not quite on our weekly posting schedule yet, but we're going to get there, I promise. But this is actually our third video. x3lifestyle.com. is just the central hub. This is where you can find out everything that's going on about us. So we have multiple companies, and these videos are sponsored by us. We have a real estate company. It's x3landgroup.com, and we do all of our real estate, large tract land sales, timber, development properties, commercial, some residential. So check us out on that site. Then we also have the construction side, which is X3 Construction. That website is x3consultant.com because X3 Construction was already taken. And then we have the outdoor store, which is X3 Outdoors, x3outdoors.com. It's really simple, cross marketing. It's really cool. Today, I will mention something else we have. One of our products we carry, Nylite. You guys have probably heard of them, especially if you're in the off-road side of things. These guys are great. These are the rock light kits, the LEDs. You can do, they're all kinds of different colors, and it's just a cool thing for your side-by-side Jeep, whatever. They have been a fantastic product, very dependable. The cost is great. Go to the website, x3outdoors.com. Check us out. We appreciate them sponsoring us and making all of this possible. And we appreciate you guys doing business with us. We've had a great week, X3 Outdoors last week. Appreciate everybody doing business with us. And we know there's a lot of other folks. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of choices, a lot of folks you can do business with. So, everybody counts with us, and we really do appreciate it. So anyway, that being said, hope you guys enjoy the video, and we're going to work on getting these weekly postings out, and we appreciate any feedback. Just hey, keep it clean and keep it respectful, and we'll do the same, and we appreciate you guys checking in. Going to do a little bush hogging today. We are actually at the X3 World headquarters. This field was mulched about a year ago, just a little over a year ago. And you can see we have already got some substantial growth. If you don't come back in here and keep this bush hogged, you will be it will be overgrown in a heartbeat. So we're going to come in here and get this bush hogged, and then we're going to run the disc through it, try to get it leveled up. It's an old pasture that had gotten grown up. We cut it, mulched it, and now we're gonna try to get it smoothed out and get it in hay. So like I said, it is rough. So we are slow through here, second gear, got the bush hog lifted up. And not because this stuff's too big to cut, it's just there are ruts and holes and everything else, so you go zipping through here not paying attention, and you're gonna find yourself in a situation. A few low spots you got to be aware of, so we're going to work on this high side and work towards the lower areas, and just take it one pass at a time. Of course, there's our lovely regen notice. Guys, young guys, older guys, maybe looking to start a business as in retirement. If you'll notice, there is no shortage of equipment out there for sale. And the reason is because of the emissions mess that has been put on these machines. The machines themselves typically still are good machines, and they would be fine if it wasn't for the emissions issues. And so one of the things you have to be aware of is the emissions warranty on your equipment warranty does not last near as long as the standard warranty or the driveline warranty, the equipment warranty itself. So you need to look into that. And that's the same on vehicles, diesels, and nobody advertises that with any great enthusiasm, but it is something you need to be aware of. And so this equipment that you're buying out here today, the main issues that people have, other than the fact that just electronics, it's a lot of electronics on these things. So, a lot to go wrong. It can be something as simple as something came unplugged, which I've had happen, and that's insane that you've got to shut down a job and figure out what came unplugged. I say all that to say this: if you're looking at getting into business, try to find an older piece of equipment, pre-emissions, something that can still be worked on without having to bring in a computer. And just, it's going to take a little bit. I mean, there's going to be things you're going to have to repair, but try to find a good, low hour machine. I mean, these things were made to last for a long time. And the problem is with the emissions issues, or the emissions equipment, they just don't do it anymore. They just don't last. So that's why you see a lot of this stuff for sale. That's one of those holes we were just talking about. That's why you see a lot of this stuff for sale, is just because I really like to stop while we're in a regen, but that gum thing's aggravating. I try not to get in a situation where I've got to turn around, but I did. So a lot of times that just delays the regen process. But anyway, find some equipment that is pre-emission stuff. Learn how to work on it a little bit. There are guys out there, diesel mechanics, that can still work on this old equipment and keep it going for a long time. And then you're just not going to have to worry about it. First of all, you're going to get it cheaper. And again, educate yourself, because there's things that can go wrong with it. You're talking about, depending on what you're buying, undercarriages still can have motor issues, whatever, but most of these things can be fixed. So we've got 2 pieces of equipment that have emission stuff on it. Once we get out of the warranty phase, we will be looking at what options we have to kind of mitigate the emissions issues. And hopefully, with some of the things the current administration and EPA are doing, maybe we won't have to worry about this, long term. Maybe some of this stuff is going to go away, and that would be great news for the industry. It has been a problem. There have been just issue after issue since all of this stuff was implemented. So anyway, my 2 cents. And I think the other thing, and which always tends to happen, is unintended consequences. You read the studies now about the exhaust because of the ammonia in the DEF and all this stuff. The ammonia, basically, that's coming out of your exhaust system is having a detrimental effect on plants and everything along the highways. The pollution that it's, or the chemicals, the chemical that it emits now through the exhaust, which is, like I said, ammonia based. It's causing problems. And so you say, well, we did away with some carbon. Well, yeah, now you're just polluting with something else. So at least with the way it used to be, the manufacturers didn't have issues, owners didn't have issues. There are ways to, I'm sure there were better ways to go about working on carbon emissions rather than destroying diesel motors. Of course, if you if you believe what is out there, then that was kind of all part of the plan to get rid of the gas and diesel motors and go electric. And look, I'm all about alternative energy, and I think solar is fantastic. We use solar generators, which are great. And everything from camping to, just on the road, out here. We use them. I've got a couple of them, so I think it's great. Now, I still tend to recharge them with, just plug them in and let them charge, because the solar is still lacks a lot as far as our time goes. It just takes so long. So I'm all about the solar. I'm all about electric motors. I think that technology is going to continue to get better and better, and I am all for it. Not sold on the windmill situation. You know, that just seems to be kind of a losing proposition. You know, the money it takes to make those things, and the petroleum it takes to make them and service them and all that kind of stuff. And then what do you do with them? You put them in landfills when they wear out. So, I mean, those are massive pieces of equipment. So I really don't see the wind farms. I'm not so sold on. But anyway, we'll kind of see how all this works out. Isn't that the case? Something gets approved, and then we figure out whether it was a good idea or not, 5 years down the road. So I guess so much for testing. But I don't know what happened with that part of the process. But anyway, so yeah, if you guys get out here and getting into business, look around at your options with used equipment and see what you can come up with. I think that's a great option. And even if you have to work on one a little bit, the money you're saving by purchasing one without all the emission stuff on it, you've got quite a bit already that you can save up to do the service work. So look into it. And I think most of the stuff is, pre-2014, I believe that's right. I'd have to check, but I've had a couple of tractors that we have gotten rid of, which the last one was a little 26 horse Kubota, little 4-wheel drive, great tractor, low hours. I bought it from a guy that only had 400 hours on it when I bought it, and I kicked myself for getting rid of it. It didn't have a loader on it. I could have put a loader on it, and anyway, that was really not a smart thing to do, to get rid of that tractor, but I did. And guy drove up sight unseen from Louisiana to Alabama, some central Alabama, and bought that thing. And he was very pleased. I mean, it was a sweet little tractor. It's one of those you hear about. I mean, literally had been barn kept, 400 hours on it. It was a 2005, 2004 or 5. I'm thinking, is that right? 2000. Anyway, gosh, I can't remember now. Anyway, it was a great tractor. So, really disappointed in myself for letting go of that one, but I did. Had a 4-wheeler one time. It's great. Polaris 4-wheeler, 2012. Bought it probably in 16. And ended up selling it. Should have never gotten rid of it. Same way. It was almost practically new. Had like 50 miles on it. It was crazy. But I enjoy buying and trading and selling, and had an opportunity to sell it and make some money and do something else, and so I did. But anyway, try not to get too attached to stuff, because like I said, everything's for sale for the right price. So enjoy doing the trading thing. I would say for you young guys, again, that's another thing to try to do. Try to avoid debt as much as you can, especially when you're starting out. Well, and hey, it's for us old guys too. You try to avoid debt as much as possible. And, that's the other thing. Bartering, just, trading. Try to trade out services, trade out something that you don't need, just find a way to get something, work it off. I mean, there's all kinds of creative ways to do things. I mean, you have to have somebody that's willing to do it, but there are there are all kinds of ways to do things. And the first little tractor that I got, tractor, bush hog, box blade, and that's what I did. Basically traded out. You had the real estate company, so basically traded out some work, and used my commission to buy that equipment, and that's where we got started in the management side of it. Just with a little tractor, a little 26 horse tractor, and a box blade, bush hog, and a set of discs. And then we managed to scale up from there and keep our equipment paid for as we went, so we didn't have to borrow money. And it worked out. Just taking our time, dollar at a time. It's a slow way to do it, but it is a stress-free way to do it, that's for sure. So we lived through 2008 when everything went south. Things were just rocking and rolling. A lot of the older guys and gals lived through it. The younger folks, I know you hear about it, but it was very interesting. I was 38 when that all went down, and literally lost everything when that happened. I'd gone out on my own in 2005, and had a few good years where it was just cruising, and I was doing consulting for developers and investors, and then was doing some development of my own, and things were just, again, rocking and rolling. It was amazing. And then just as amazing, the fact that everything was going so well was amazing, that it all of a sudden just went away. And that was amazing. I look back at it at the time, it was devastating, but it just, to look back at that and just kind of still try to figure out how in the world that happened. I mean, we know what happened. It was lending money to underqualified people. Just, it didn't matter. I mean, you could get a loan back then. Rates were great. It didn't matter. You didn't have to have I joke, I said, some people, I don't even think you had to have a job back then. You could get 100% financing, even 110% financing. There were people financing anything. What's up? What's up? Ran over here. Oh. Check that out. Ran up on a stump bucket. That's funny. Hey, note to self: had we had our locks on the bucket locked, that would not have happened. So that's why you always pay attention what you're doing. I'm definitely going to include that in the video, because that is a lesson for anybody. Doesn't matter how long you do this stuff. If you always double check your equipment and make sure everything is locked down, sealed up, make sure the fuel caps are on, the oil caps are, dipsticks are in, everything is done, because it doesn't matter how many times you check it, it can you can miss it. And in this case, I was changing out implements. I put the forks. I had the forks on, and I took them off and was unloading. All right, let's see who in the world this is. Well, I turned the camera off to get that phone call, and you won't believe this. Apparently, I did not forget to lock the bucket on. So what had happened was, either I locked the bucket on, but it did not lock into the bottom has two little spots. Anybody's got a quick connect bucket knows it's got the two bottom holes that you're, when you close your pins, that they lock into. So either I did not get them locked into that and I did not check that. Usually I raise my bucket up, take a look. You can see, I always double check and make sure those are not, obviously I don't always do it because I didn't do it this time. And the levers were down, but I must have not had the bucket back far enough for those pins to lock in, and I did not double check it, or somehow when I hit that stump, it popped the bucket off. I don't know how that would have happened, but although I did not forget to lock the levers, I did not double check it. So either way, double check your stuff when you're out working. Double check everything. It will save you some heartache for sure. So, but all's well, no damage. That's the great part. So we're good. Keep on. We'll just keep on keeping on. I forgot what we were discussing. So I believe we were talking about staying out of debt when we were so rudely interrupted by my lack of diligence. So we're going to move on to another topic that I've been thinking about here lately, is trying to stay out of debt, but also, we were talking, yeah, we were talking about 2008, staying out of debt, talking about staying out of debt, which this all ties together. So when everything went south, like I said, I was working for doing my own subdivisions and doing stuff as a consultant. And again, the whole thing is amazing to just go back and think how all this worked, because we were ripping along and then literally it stopped. We had a subdivision with, I think 40 something lots for sale. We had a few more in the works, but we had one that was literally going to a builder sale within a week or so, and it just dried up. The bank said no more money, everything shut down, and all of a sudden anything that was going on, it was dead in the water, nothing, which is just amazing. So, we struggled and struggled to figure out what to do, and it's like, good grief, what are we going to do? And then the banks were like, hey, we're going to work with you. You just keep on paying those interest payments and we're going to work with you. Man, we're here. We're in this together. And of course, we continued to pay the interest payments because, we had our money and bank money in the developments. And so after a couple of months, the bank decides, well, you know what? We're not going to work with you. So we're going to call the loans. And it's like, hey, what do you mean? And they didn't care. So they called the loans due, and nobody could pay them off. And so not only did we lose properties and any way for us to continue to make money, we had also burned through our capital because the banks promised that, we're in this together, we're going to work with you, we'll help you, we'll defer payments, we'll do whatever we need to do. So we burned up all our capital working with them, trying to do the right thing. So, it really shaped my view of the world differently post 2008 than pre 2008. The great thing is you don't need banks if you pay for everything, and it's really a freeing feeling. Is it slow to start from zero and do it dollar by dollar? It absolutely is. It is slow, painstakingly slow at sometimes, but the freedom that comes with that is unmatched. So after that, we just strapped our tool belt back on, got back into the construction side of it, doing light commercial and residential remodeling, handyman stuff, whatever we had to do. Fortunately, we had that to fall back on. So we spent a long time rebuilding from scratch. And it was, oh gosh, it was a good 10 years before we were ever able to do anything of our own, really. So it was quite was quite an interesting situation for sure. But now 20 years, almost 20 years later, it was well worth it doing it that way. And that brings me back to the whole conversation about saving. If you start now, especially if you're just having kids, start something for your kids. But just as important, if you're single, if you're married, start saving something. And I mean, put in your 401k, max that thing out, get some cash in the bank for emergency funds. And I think anybody that's probably heard Dave Ramsey. Anyway, probably heard him. That's something he always talks about, having cash in the bank. So, I'm not quoting Dave Ramsey. I think he's got some sound advice. Don't get me wrong. I think his plan is a great plan. It's saying the same thing. Pay for everything. But I'm just coming to you, from a real world experienced point of view, and I believe he is too. What you can find here is, if you talk to people that have been through this, that have lost everything, that have been in debt, and then have done it the other way, where they pay for everything and work their way up and just go that route, they're going to tell you, hey, hands down, that's the best way to go. So that's what I'm telling you. And the cash on hand for emergencies is you cannot. I can't tell you how much or how important that is, because you have to have money for those expenses that pop up that you don't have to pull out of your monthly income. There's something breaks down, a vehicle breaks down, your HVAC goes out, whatever it may be. These are big expenses that can really put you in a bind. So, if you start putting everything back into a retirement plan and then saving you some cash for emergencies and vacation's another one. My gosh, people all the time, they borrow, there are vacation loans. Vacation loans. Let me say that one more time. Vacation loans. Hey, if you got to borrow money to go on a vacation, don't go. Do a staycation, man. Enjoy it and save the money up until you can. I mean, my goodness. But that's the world we live in. Credit, that's another thing that can get you in some terrible trouble. And as a young person, hey, I made my mistakes too and got in debt, credit cards, because they don't spend enough time when you're young talking about, how this all works. And hey, the fact that if you use a credit card and you don't pay it off each month, you will try to pay a minimum payment. It will go on forever and you'll pay it for 20 years and still not get it paid off. They don't discuss all these things with you. Credit cards are not for people that do not have money. They're for people that do have money. We did not use credit cards for years until we could afford to use them and pay them off each month for the business. That's how we use them. We use them for materials and any expenses. It's easy to track, and you talk about being able to see what you spend money on. You can do that with a debit card too. Don't get me wrong. And that's what we did. We did business with a debit card. If you're going to use a debit card, set up a separate account. Get you your main account, checking account or whatever, and then set up an operating account or a reserve account or something else, because you only want to put enough money in there to use that debit card for the transaction you're using it for. I think that made sense. You don't want to keep money in that account because of the fraud that occurs nowadays. So if you're using a debit card, set that account aside and do separate accounts, to have two checking accounts. That way you don't have to worry about it. You can also have a third savings account. Check around with the banks and see how they work, minimum balances and all that, because the banks are going to charge you fees too for the pleasure of having an account with them. So that's something to consider. Shop around when you're opening these accounts. Find out where the best deals are. A lot of times the credit unions will have better deals than some of your chain larger banks, Wells Fargo, PNC, some of those. So check around with your local banks. Not to mention the fact if you at the local banks, and locally owned banks is what I'm talking about, not just local, what banks are in your town, but locally owned banks. If you are in a business or decide to borrow money, for your business, or if you're in the construction business and need to do construction loans, these are much better banks to deal with because they tend to know you on a personal level. And so if you're starting out, that's a great move to make when you're opening your bank accounts. Get with a community owned or local bank and get your relationship with them. The process, of loans and construction loans and whatever kind of loan, it's a much more streamlined process when you deal with banks like that. So another good thing to look at. But the credit cards, like I said, use a debit card when you're starting out. Keep separate accounts. The credit card, there are some benefits. There's some cash back, which I was unaware until a few years ago. I mean, the cash back is handled as a rebate, so it's handled differently tax-wise. So there's some benefits there. But you cannot carry balances on these credit cards because they are going to eat you alive. It is just, it can be devastating once you get hung up in one of these cards and it's maxed out. And if you don't have the ability, now I'm not talking about if you have the money out, but you also know it's coming in, and unfortunately you have to pay less than the full balance one month, waiting on a draw to come in or something. That's again what they're there for. That's fine. You hate to do that, but sometimes that's going to happen. You want to just keep it current though, make that minimum payment or whatever you can pay, and then just pay it off the next month. You're going to get that little interest hit, but that's what they're used for. So just be real careful with that, and just try to avoid it, if possible. But that takes you right back into the savings thing. When you're in this business, especially real estate or commission, when you're in a commission type job, that commission may not be weekly or monthly. It may be when you make a sale. So, you've got to have the ability to save money, put it back, and don't touch it. Don't assume something is going to be there. Don't assume you're going to have a closing until it closes. Don't assume you're going to make that sale and get the commission until it's done. Because if you do, you got yourself in a bind. So don't spend your money before you have it. That's just, it sounds like common sense, but we've all been guilty of counting our chickens before they hatch, as they say. So just want to be careful about that. Oh gosh, and I didn't mean to start going off on a ramble about all that stuff, but those are just important things that, we're just not, our schools, and they didn't do it when we were in school, which has been 100 years ago, and they're not doing it now. They're not talking to folks, again, about common business practices, savings, how businesses work, the financial part of it, what are your options for getting started, capital, investors, loans, what to do, how to save, who to talk to. And the whole point is when folks get close to retirement and they think they've saved all this money, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm, of course, having lost everything and made it and started from nothing to begin with and make it back and lose it again. These were not things that were because of foolish practices. These were things that were out of my control, and of course, learning from it, I changed the way that I have things set up now. But at 55, of course, I'm not thinking about retirement. I mean, what I do, fortunately, I can keep doing until I'm, hopefully I live to be 100. And those opportunities, or these opportunities and the things I do, I still have that ability, and I enjoy it. I love what I do. The real estate side, the construction side, getting out here on equipment and, just, running equipment. Now, do I want to keep doing it 8 hours a day, for weeks on end? No, that's what the younger guys coming up, hopefully, we'll have them doing. But as you start getting closer to retirement, you start realizing, you know, all of the things that folks don't talk to you about. And one of them, and I would say your biggest single expense that most people that think, hey, I'm going to retire at 55, one of your biggest single expense that people don't discuss with you, even your financial advisors and you know, the people that are over your 401k plans that you talk to, is your health insurance. Because until you get to the age that you can get Medicare, or yeah, it's Medicare. I always say Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare. Until you get to into your 60s, you will be responsible for your own insurance policy, your health insurance. And buddy, it's no joke. It's crap out here. And so, you know, that's something that needs to be discussed more than it is, and needs to be fixed. It is a mess. It is a mess. I pay right now just for, I've had Blue Cross Blue Shield, individual blue for, slowing down, taking a look. This is one of those rough areas. I had it for 20 years, and I pay almost $1,100 a month just for my health insurance. So it is absolutely ridiculous. It went up just when I hit 55. It went up over a 30% increase, and so of course, you know, I'd always try to find out about it and, you know, try to be involved in what was going on with it. So I wrote our senators Britt and Tuberville, sit down, and actually I'm like, this is, you know, you got to be involved if you're going to make change happen. Got to be involved. So I'm writing letters, took the time to, you know, say what was going on, small business owner, all this kind of stuff, and, you know, contacted them, well thought out letter, and I did hear back, not from them, but your typical form letter. Did not answer any of the questions that I presented to them. It was your typical form letter, which, there again, folks, if you're planning on the politicians taking care of us, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, independent, I don't care what it is. If you think that the politicians of any party are working for you, you are foolish. Absolutely foolish. They're not. And until we all get on that same page, I mean, I think everybody knows it. Until we all get on that same page as a unified group, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, progressive, whatever you want to call it. There are some things that affect us all equally. We can have different beliefs in the way that things should be done, but there are some things that are universal. And I'm not talking about universal health care. I'm talking about universally affecting us all. So until we can put the petty things aside, I mean, there's plenty of things worth debate, that's fine. But until we can put those things aside and get on our politicians and go, hey, you know, enough's enough. We need these things fixed. We need it taken care of, and we're not moving on, and the form letters aren't going to cut it. You know, we're going to hold you accountable, you know, and I think some of that needs to be these term limits that we've discussed for 20 years. They're never going to come up for a vote because none of them will remove themselves from office once they get there. But I think that is, the term limits is a huge thing to being able to get some control back in Washington. And I'm talking not just to Washington politicians, I'm talking about on a state level too. We got all kinds of issues. I know every state does. But again, the point is we all have to be on this, the same page. And you know, they count on us arguing and fighting about the petty things, and that's how they are allowed to just get nothing done. Because, oh, there's always the most recent emergency. Oh, this is what we got to fight this right now. Oh, this is going on, so this takes precedent. No, it doesn't. Let's get the things fixed that need to be fixed. We had a good start on immigration. I'm all for people coming here legally or with work visas, but illegal is illegal. I have no problem with getting them out, keeping them out. Obviously, that should tell you something that for my entire life, all I've heard is, oh, we're fighting this battle. We're going to try to get it fixed. Congress, we got to wait on Congress. Well, what that told you when Trump got elected is that was all a lie. And it was both sides, both parties, just lying and using it to run for elections. Because at one time it was a Republican, it was Clinton talking about it, how we had to do something about immigration. Obama said we had to do something. Then the Republicans said we have to do something. Bush did. And then it's just ridiculous. Well, like him or hate him, Trump comes into office and showed us that all of that was a lie. It took, a couple of weeks to get that border shut down to zero just by enacting the laws that were on the books. So, I mean, he has made, if nothing else, he has exposed this game that these guys and gals have been playing for years. So, wake up. Let's pay attention, quit getting distracted, and focus on these things that need to be done. Immigration, healthcare, and I'm going to get on one more little rant, and that's the taxes. Guys and gals, come on now. I mean, all that we've heard in the news, if you're listening to the news, and I do encourage everyone, pick a couple of different news networks, not just one, not one left-leaning or right-leaning. Pick a couple of different, look around. Everybody's got an agenda, but keep yourself informed. And the one thing that's been in the news is all of the fraud. Now, we've all known there's been fraud, welfare fraud, workers' comp fraud, tax fraud, all kinds of fraud. Here fraud, there fraud, everywhere fraud. But again, we have had it exposed with the Somalia and California, with the fraud out there. And anyway, my point is, they're saying that they know of at least 9 billion in fraud just in one city, in Minneapolis. Folks, if our government can give out $9 billion in one city, fraudulent funds that do nothing to enhance our communities, they do nothing to better us or the people around us. If they can give out $9 billion in one city, the main thing that tells me is absolutely we got too much fraud. But we are being taxed way more than what we should be being taxed. For someone to be able to hand out $9 billion, there should be a process. Might even have to save a little bit or do something. When we can hand out $9 billion in one city and never miss a beat, I don't want to hear anymore about how we got to raise taxes, we don't have money to fund this and fund that. That, again, is an out and out absolute lie. It's a lie, folks. So the tax thing has gotten so out of hand. I mean, the Boston Tea Party, that's what got this whole thing going, because of the taxes. Pick up a history book. And yet, I mean, in our forefathers, oh gosh, there was no income tax. There were not any of these taxes. They didn't exist. If our forefathers came back right now and could see what we've allowed as a nation to happen to us with what they left us, oh my goodness, y'all. So again, quit arguing about the petty stuff, because until we all get on the same page tax-wise, and pick these things that need to be fixed and all unify, it's not going to change. We're just going to keep on getting sidetracked by the little ridiculous things, and none of this stuff's ever going to happen. Now, if they had, 200 million people, that's probably a little overkill. If they had 50 million people emailing, writing letters, calling Congress, their state and national level, then things would get done. But until we can get those kind of numbers and that kind of focus, it's not going to happen, and we are going to keep getting just pummeled. So just inform yourself, get involved, enjoy this stuff like we've got. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You got to be careful. You got to, don't get pigeonholed and be looking at one thing. Again, look around, go to different platforms, listen to different opinions. We've all heard the stories about the algorithms. You know, if you look up one thing, all of a sudden you get hit with 10 things. So if you're focusing on, you know, one thing and one point of view, you're going to get just flooded with that same point of view without ever seeing the other side. So open your mind, educate yourself, stay informed, and get involved. I mean, that's the main thing. Just get involved. So everybody can do something. Everybody has a role to play. To just get out there and make it happen. I mean, look at all these cool things that we get to do and get to see now because of, you know, the advancements. I think social media has its place. I think it's fantastic, but I don't think any of these things you need to let control your life. But sometimes they're very educational, and they can open our eyes and, you know, kind of let us see all the things that are out here. So enjoy it. Enjoy what we have, the things that we've been able to do, and but don't assume that they're just going to be there forever if we don't get involved. It's not going to be this way forever. So anyway, well, that's enough of my lecture for this video. Hopefully I'll be able to post this one for the next week or so. And so I'm just going to be quiet. We're going to cruise through here, get this handled, and let you guys kick back and just watch a little brush hogging. Maybe that'll bring us all down a little bit, help us relax. So appreciate you checking it out. Well, it looks like we are about to wrap this one up. I saved you guys from the never-ending circles. There's only so much you can speed up and have it be entertaining. I think there's plenty there. Fast forward after my rant. I figure there's plenty there for you to see bush hog wise. We still got plenty to do out here, but I think that's all for the afternoon. And it's time to go try to get some office work done. A couple of things I need to finish up before it gets too late. So we're gonna make a pass right through here and take a look at the field once we got through with it. There is some metal cable as opposed to wooden cable. There's some metal and some cables out here that have been discovered at inopportune times, so kind of trying to be careful about where I go. That is never fun, especially with a bush hog's one thing. The mulchers are terrible if they wrap up a big old pile of cable or fencing. That is a bad day. But we got everything done in the main field that we needed to, and so it has been there's a nice little ditch. So it's been a good afternoon. Very productive. Let's see if we can take a look right here. Oh yeah, looks much better from where we came out here this morning. We got a couple of spots. There's a big pile of debris out there that will have to be spread out or grabbed with the grapple and gotten out of the middle. We're gonna have to come through, disc it now, and we'll let this stuff lay for a week or so, dry out really well, and then we're going to come through here and disc this and get it ready. Be planting hay on it before you know it, but turned out great. So appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.